Hi, my name is Ernest Rutherford. I'm a British physicist and I'm here to talk to you about the Geiger Marsden experiment. The Geiger Marsden experiment is commonly called the Rutherford Goldfoil experiment. This experiment pertains to the structure of an atom and what we did to find the true structure of the atom. In this experiment, we set out to discover the real structure of an atom. The previous model of an atom was the plum pudding model devised by the English physicist J.J. Thomson. This was where the atom was described as a sea of positive charge with electrons scattered throughout the atom. We wanted to understand the true structure of the atom and if this current model of the atom, the plum pudding model, was accurate or if it was kind of just made up and kind of thrown together on the fly. The experiment took place at the physical laboratories of the University of Manchester in England. This experiment was started in 1908 and lasted all the way up till 1913. During the process of this experiment, there were many significant events happening around the world. One of the very important events that was going on was the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. This event was greatly publicized in England and the United States because we all thought the ship was unsinkable. Being in England, many people were completely shocked and some were devastated with their loss when the ship sank on her maiden voyage traveling to New York. Another significant event was the year after we finished the experiment. World War I broke out in 1914. Europe ended up being involved, and a lot of the civilized world was dragged into the war too. I was involved in this experiment as mainly the overseer and mentor. The two other physicists involved in the experiment were the main scientist, Hans Geiger, and his undergraduate assistant, Ernest Marsden. I played a role in the experiment by being the head of it. At the time, I was the head of the physics department here at the University of Manchester in England. I oversaw the experiment that was conducted by Hans Geiger and Ernest Marsden and backed their discoveries and helped them develop their theories about the nucleus and about the structure of the atom. I helped mentor the very young Ernest Marsden, who at the time was only 20 years old and he did not even have a degree yet from the university. The impact that my experiment had on the physics community was that it laid the groundwork for the development of nuclear physics by helping to discover the real structure of the atom. The experiment paved the way for me to disprove the plum pudding model and theorize that the structure of the atom was like the solar system, with a positively charged core like the sun and the electrons orbiting it such as the planets would in our solar system. The dense core with a positive charge came to be known as the nucleus of an atom. Our experiments proved that every atom had a dense positively charged nucleus at the center regardless of the material. We had tested many different materials and they each came to the same conclusion that everything had a nucleus and everything was bouncing off of something in the center of an atom. The experiment was performed by shooting a beam of alpha particles at a very thin piece of gold foil. There was a circular zinc sulfide screen around the gold foil with a gap for the entering beam of alpha particles. The screen showed the deflection angles of the alpha particles as it hit the piece of gold foil. With the plum pudding model being the most recent model of the atom of the time, I initially theorized that the alpha particles would more or less pass straight through the gold foil, but that was far from the case. I was very surprised when the particles started to deflect at significant angles and some even bounced straight back. The majority of the particles, though, passed straight through the gold foil. From the initial observation, you could tell the alpha particles were bouncing off of something significant in the gold foil. This alone proved to us that the old ways of thinking about the atom were wrong. We then concluded that the particles must be hitting something with a positive charge and causing the positive alpha particles to be deflected. for those of y'all who aren't physicists like me and need some explanation to why they were deflected, in physics, something that have like charges repel each other while opposites attract. So with that notion, we then theorize that the positive charge must be at the center of the atom with electrons orbiting it, because many of the alpha particles would pass through, but when it hit one of the positively charged centers of the atom, they would deflect.